versus Wade.
Okay. So I appreciate the fact that we're actually getting into the issues here. We're not just avoiding the issues, and that's good. Kent stated that before 1973 Roe versus Wade decision, there were relatively few abortions in America. Well, I studied that. I investigated that question, and the data is extremely hard to find. There could have been 1 million abortions a year in America before 1973. We have like one study in Connecticut that suggests that it was about 1 million a year. Far more than the statistics that the Right to Life movement quotes. So I have to say that in the United States, in relation to the Roe versus Wade decision, it is not certain what the effect of that was. What I think was that the number of abortions went up for a few years and then started a long-term decline that has continued until the present day, coming from a situation where, okay, let's say the United States was somewhere in the middle here, coming from a situation to where Roe versus Wade became the law of the land, and the long-term trend has been in the right direction, has been positive. To say that one researcher admitted to making up statistics is meaningless. What we have to go by is the data that we have. And what we have is, once again, in countries where abortion is extremely restricted, hard or impossible to obtain legally, the abortion rate is higher. Now you can say, you question that all day long, but what you're doing is questioning reality. It's a hard fact, but it's true. And so the point is, do we want to go backwards? If we go back, which is what the Right to Life movement has been demanding since 1973, to before Roe versus Wade, what we'll go back to is higher abortion rates, many more women dying, a society where every woman of childbearing age becomes a suspect of capital murder. Is that the kind of society we want to live in? It's obvious that we don't. We don't want to go back, and I don't think it's possible for America to go back. Okay,
You're welcome to go on. You're welcome to complete your thoughts. I have no problem. I don't need, if it's okay with you,
That's
3
fine.
minutes, I'd rather have you complete your
yeah,
thoughts.
that's fine. If the Human Life Amendment, which has been a part of the platform of the Republican Party since 1980, would make all abortions illegal, it would overturn Roe versus Wade in its entirety. If that were ever to pass, I think we would have a second civil war in this country. Americans will not stand for it.
I'm a little more optimistic. I trust we don't have a second civil war. But I will say that that is an interesting topic, because that was a huge moral issue in America. It was a moral issue, whether it be held by religious, and a lot of the abolitionists were in fact religious, or whether it was just simply humanitarianism. That was a major moral crisis in America. And when we were founded, our founding fathers had some problems, because they had stated with our Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They believed in liberty. And yet they formed a government where there were 3 to 4 million Africans enslaved. all of us know our American history, knowing that some of those founders really wanted to get rid of slavery. Other of our founders from the more southern states, because that's where it was pervasive, couldn't see a South without slavery. And in essence, there was a grand compromise, and it's in the Constitution. Slavery's not in the Constitution, but property rights are. And so our founding fathers, whom I have great respect for, were not perfect. By the way, I haven't seen any perfect men and women around in our leaders since then either. And so what they did is they kicked the can down the road for our Declaration of Independence was 1776. They kicked it down the road until the Civil War broke out. It did come to a Civil War, that moral issue. And there were more issues involved, but it was the essence of slavery, was the crux of the matter. And in 1865, you may recall, Lincoln gave his second inaugural just weeks before he would be killed. And he spoke very eloquently, it's carved in the Lincoln Memorial, about how the Civil War was, speaking of religion, this is a president speaking of it, was the judgment of God on America for slavery. And he specifically said that every drop of blood that had been shed with the lash was going to be drawn by the sword, and every dollar that had been earned by the sweat of another man's brow was going to be sunk in the sea. But then he concluded that the judgments of God are righteous and true altogether. I trust we don't end up with a second Civil War, but I do believe in the Civil War that Geoff and I are having right now. It's civil. We disagree with one another, but I can respect him as a fellow American who can believe what he wants to believe. And this kind of civil war must continue until more reality is shed on that life that is in the womb. And that's so important because when the Supreme Court decided Roe versus Wade 7-2, they said, we don't know when life begins, which I'm not surprised, they're not MDs. But as technology moves forward, we're getting closer and closer to that reality of what life in the womb is. And there's no one that can deny that there's life in the womb. Now what ends up happening is that the argument shifts into another direction on that. And I'll save that for another round here. But we are in a major civil war, and we need to keep it civil. But it must be won for the sake of the mothers and for the sake of the unborn children. By the way, I will respond to the capital murder. I don't believe mothers should be charged with murder. I'm concerned about the abortionist. If the law were to come that abortion is unlawful, that the abortionist would be appropriately prosecuted under whatever law, whatever penalty the law would say.
Okay, well, I'll pick up right from there. If we have the Human Life Amendment somehow passed, if enough Republicans get elected, if the GOP gets its way, that 58 million fetuses terminated within a given time period. I think you're referring to 1973 to the present?
Correct.
All right. Similar period, exactly the same number of years after this Human Life Amendment gets passed, the number will be higher than 58 million. And the only difference will be they'll all be illegal, and millions of American women will have died unnecessarily. What I'm talking about is a movement, the Right to Life movement, formed in reaction to the Supreme Court decision. And it's really the movement, the name of the movement, Right to Life, includes within itself a political and legal strategy. It's a movement based around a strategy. That strategy is overturn Roe versus Wade, go back, make abortion illegal in all the states. I mean, there'd be no way to for a state to go against that, because the Human Life Amendment is an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. No state can defy that. And so the abortion rate would go up. okay? And I want to get to that name of the Right to Life movement again. The Right to Life movement, since it's founded on an assumption, making abortion illegal will decrease the abortion rate hopefully to zero, right? That's the assumption behind the Right to Life movement since the day it was founded. And usually they don't even state it. They just let you assume, well, yeah, make it illegal, then it won't happen anymore. That is false. Evidence from around the world shows it's false. So what that means is, I want to draw implications here. Right to Life movement has been founded on a falsehood since the day it began. The falsehood is making abortion laws more restrictive will decrease the number of abortions that occur. It's simply false. I can't say that often enough. The Right to Life movement, it's very rare when you have we've got this conflict, this disagreement that has gone on between these two groups. Let's call them the Planned Parenthood and the Democratic Party side, and the Right to Life Republican side. It's very rare in human existence and politics to find one side completely wrong. But that's what we've had since 1973. The Right to Life side, they named themselves that in order to be able to call themselves pro-life. The Right to Life side has been 100% wrong since the day it was founded. And it's 100% wrong today when we talk about public policy. The Democratic Party and Planned Parenthood have solved the abortion crisis. We have the strategy that will lower the abortion rate steadily, gradually, inexorably, and the less interference that we get from the right wing, the lower the abortion rate will go and the lower it will stay. And the happier all Americans should be.
I would disagree with Geoff. I'm not a spokesman for Right to Life, but the reason why they grabbed that phrase, Right to Life, was what I've already quoted. They were quoting the Declaration of Independence, and I emphasized liberty with my last analogy about slavery. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with the right to life. And so it's not a question about making abortion zero. That will never happen. Just like passing laws that make murder illegal, and we all agree that murder should be illegal, we're still going to have murders. That's just the nature of law and mankind that is not perfect, that cannot live up to our highest ideals. Just like I mentioned our founding fathers that I have great reverence for. I respect them. They didn't make it perfect. And none of us on this earth, I think, can do that. So the term right to life is not a strategy. It's a basic restatement of our Declaration of Independence. And without doubt, I agree with Geoff that the Democratic Party nationally has a platform, in their platform, very liberal pro-choice positions. And the Republican Party in their platform has very conservative pro-life positions. I suspect they do have the constitutional amendment, the Right to Life Amendment. But in this state, even in this election on November 3rd, the leading senator, state senator, on the Democratic side, in the minority in the state Senate, I'm talking about Ray Jones from Pikeville, specifically said that in Kentucky, the National Democratic Party has gone too far, and our party has gone too far. We're missing the people of Kentucky. And what he meant by that, I submit to you, is that he recognizes that in this state, Kentucky, there have been no new pro-life bills regulating abortion, not banning it altogether. No new pro-life bills allowed on the House floor for 12 years. They're not even debated. And yes, the majority party in the House, led by Greg Stonebow, is Democratic. But there are a number of pro-life, rural Democrats who have values very much like what I'm arguing for. And they're not allowed to vote on it because their party will not allow the bill to be debated. Now, whether you're for abortion or not, that's up to you. But is that democracy? Is that the way laws should be made? That proposed legislation that clear the Senate, that's Republican, pro-life bills will come from the Senate, or pro-life bills that are initiated in the House by Democrats who are in the House. None of them ever make the House floor for debate, for consideration. And particularly the one I like to point out is the ultrasound bill. The ultrasound bill is a bill that allows the patient, the woman who is seeking an abortion, to choose to see what's going on in her uterus through the ultrasound machine. She does, as it's been proposed, she does not have to look at it, but the abortionist or the doctor performing the procedure must offer that to her. But that bill has been killed every year in these last 12 years. Now, if we want to empower women, why are we not letting them have all the information that's available to them? There is not a single procedure done medically that has that kind of prohibition, that kind of limitation. In fact, it would be offensive for some doctor or some group to say, women can't handle the information. But evidently that's what's happening. And that's not true.
All right, well, I was happy to hear something Kent just said that I totally agree with. And that is that the abortion rate anywhere in the world will never reach zero. Totally agree with that. And I'm glad you recognize that fact. As long as there are human beings in the world, it's going to be with us. So the question I keep coming back to, what public policies are the best way to lower that rate as close to zero as possible? There's a question about why the Right to Life movement claimed that name. I attended a candidate training seminar here in Lexington put on by a very conservative, right-wing Republican organization. Obviously, I didn't share their ideology on virtually any issue, but their training was very well done. And so at a certain point, there was an exercise. It was a kind of okay, what should Jack Conway be saying about Bevan? What should Matt Bevan be saying about Conway? And when it got to the question of what Bevan should be saying about Conway on various issues, I heard somebody in the corner of the room say, baby killer. That's why the Right to Life movement claimed that name. For 43 years, that movement, the leaders of it, have been calling me, they've been calling my party, Democratic Party, they've been calling Planned Parenthood baby killers. They've been doing it for an emotional reason and to gain political power. I'm sick and tired of it. The Republican Party is not pro-life. I'll say that again. The Republican Party is not pro-life and never has been. Since 1980, this Human Life Amendment, we've already discussed how counterproductive it is, how it would make all abortions illegal, how it would raise the abortion rate in America. That is not a pro-life position. That is objectively a pro-abortion position. It would make the abortion rate higher. The Republican Party has been wrong on the abortion issue since at least 1980. Totally wrong. I don't know Kent's organization well. I know they cover many other issues beside abortion, but since the day his organization was founded in 1989, it has been 100% wrong about abortion. okay? The Democratic Party and Planned Parenthood have been working hard to reduce the abortion rate, to reduce the number of unplanned pregnancies which lead to abortions. We've been effective for years, decades. The Republican Party has done nothing but make the abortion problem worse. The Right to Life movement has been nothing but counterproductive. The policies, okay, so then Kent talked about some laws in the General Assembly. Basically, if I ran for General Assembly in 2012 against Stan Lee. If I had won, one of my priorities would have been to reverse every law that the Right to Life movement has ever passed in order to lower the abortion rate. Everything they do raises the abortion rate, makes abortions harder to get, more restrictive. Everything we do lowers the abortion rate.
I hope that I have not come across as going after the Democratic Party. I disagree with their platform on this issue, and I'm not hailing the Republican Party, but it sounds as though I may have been perceived as that. I disagree with the Democratic Party on a number of issues. I happen to be registered as an independent. But my ire is not towards the Democratic Party. I'm frustrated with Speaker Stumbo because he has not allowed the pro-life bills to come on the House floor and be debated. That's just wrong. If it was any other issue that they would not allow even to be debated, I think we would all agree that's wrong. But that's what Greg Stumbo has chosen to do as Speaker of the House, and he has to bear the brunt of that. Interestingly enough, in his speech on election night, he went out and from the platform, I don't know if any of you saw it, but he basically said, go to your churches, tell them that the Democrats are Christians too, that we're godly people. And he was a little bit off balance, to be honest with you. He was a little bit off balance when he did that, because I think he was afraid that Christians were taking over the state. I don't know, but that's up to him. So I'm not here to go against the Democratic Party. I do disagree with Speaker Stumbo. But I can say this, and I don't say this to offend you. Margaret Sanger is one of the most vile women that ever walked the earth. She wanted to get rid of human weeds like Italians, Jews. And so that's why she developed eugenics. She is the founder of Planned Parenthood. Now, Hitler grabbed a hold of her stuff. She tried to bring it into America, and it didn't sell here at the time. But Hitler grabbed a hold of some of her stuff, and he used it. And in fact, when he was doing various kinds of eugenic cleansing, he pointed to America and said, America's been doing some of that. And he pointed to the castration of some of the black folks who were from the South, I believe, as I recall. I'm not the expert on this, and may have had some disabilities, because at that point, some in America wanted to get rid of human weeds. That was not their phraseology. But Planned Parenthood, their clinics are, for the most part, I can't give you the statistics on it, but 80% of them are near black areas. And if you remember, Margaret Sanger wanted to get rid of human weeds like blacks. I mean, she literally named them, like African Americans. So I don't believe that anybody in Planned Parenthood now would say that or would want that. But that's the root of the tree. And the tree is full blown now. So I have no respect for Planned Parenthood, especially with this year's revelations of their actually marketing fetal tissue to make double benefit. Not only are they charging the gal that comes in for the abortion, but they're getting some kickback on the other side of it. That's just inhumane. It's wrong. And I would appeal to Geoff's morality to address that.
Very good. Thank you. I'm really pleased by how this is going. We're getting into the real issues here. We're not beating around the bush. And I was going to go into Planned Parenthood next, looking at the time here. In 10 minutes, we'll go to audience interaction. You can ask questions, and I sense that there are people here who want to ask questions. All right, one comment, that Greg Stumbo did not allow pro-life bills to be debated. Well, I think all bills should be debated, but the Republican bills are not pro-life bills. They're bills that would make abortion harder to obtain. They add restrictions which are medically unnecessary. This ultrasound bill that Kent described, it has nothing to do with medicine or health. Its sole purpose is to get more women to say, well, no, I don't want an abortion. You know, I don't think much of bills like that. Bills that actually create medically unnecessary restriction on abortion, those are the bills that are dangerous. They're not pro-life bills at all. They're all sponsored by Republicans, and they're objectively bills that would raise the abortion rate. So, and this name, pro-life, was stolen in 1973. That term, that honorable, respectable term of being pro-life, that was stolen. The Right to Life movement, which is based around a political strategy, make all abortions illegal, has never been objectively pro-life. And this chart and the data, the studies behind it prove that. I'm the most pro-life candidate you'll probably ever meet because I support Planned Parenthood and everything it does. So this video, the president of Planned Parenthood was called before Congress and was attacked for some number of hours, 4 hours. At the end of the hearing, it became clear to anyone who was watching it in an unbiased way that Planned Parenthood had not done anything wrong. They had not broken any laws. They had not done anything unethical. Planned Parenthood came out blameless. And so, and demonizing that organization has been an integral part of the Right to Life movement strategy since the day it was founded 42 years ago. Demonizing your neighbor violates the 9th commandment. I want to talk about religion for a minute. Bearing false witness against your neighbor. The people who work for, volunteer for, employed by Planned Parenthood are our neighbors. They mean the best, and they achieve it. They're successful. They're effective. They lower the abortion rate. They reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies. They're a fine moral organization. I'd say 99% to 100% moral. Right to Life, on the other hand, was founded on a lie that making all abortions illegal would eliminate abortion or lower the abortion rate. It's false. It would raise it. They lie all the time. They come up with bills that would unnecessarily restrict access to abortion by women. They do pretty much nothing but harm. They're 99% immoral, the leaders of that organization. And it's very rare to find a situation, an issue in politics that's so clear-cut. One side is all right, the other side is all wrong.
Slavery was clear-cut in the mind of the Southerners. So clear-cut was it that they were willing to fight and die for it. So I disagree. Regarding your statements about demonizing, you did a pretty good job of that with the Right to Life and Republicans. So you'll be judged by your own words on that.
Good.
Okay. Medical necessity. This gentleman that I'm debating is a smart man. He's got degrees, but he's not a physician. The reason why the abortionists already do ultrasounds, they do them because they want to make sure that the woman who they're going to abort doesn't have a tubal pregnancy. If they abort a woman who has a tubal pregnancy, she will die.
Right.
So they have to do it for medical necessity. Now, the problem is, they don't turn the screen around and let the woman see what they see. Now, why would they not want to do that? Why would they not, in the interest of science and medicine, in the interest of choice, allow the woman to see what they see? How many of you have ever had an X-ray? Did the doctor allow you to see it? How many have ever had an ultrasound or some chart like that? Did the doctor allow you to see it? Why is it in this one procedure that the doctors do not want their patient to see it? You'll have to guess on that. They might see an unborn child and change their mind. I don't know if that's the reason. So, I can't defend Republicans. That's not my point. I'm sure that Republicans have lied. I don't doubt that there are Democrats that have lied. But I have heard that phrase over and over again. We want to see abortion rare. President Bill Clinton, a Democrat, said that publicly across the nation. And yet when the partial birth abortion bill came to his desk, he vetoed it. Now, this is the procedure where a baby is delivered full term. The body is out, the head is still in the womb. And scissors are jammed into the back of the neck of the baby where the baby dies. It's partial birth abortion. And he wanted to see abortion rare, but he couldn't sign that bill banning that procedure.
Okay, we're getting close to 8 o'clock. I want to talk some more about Planned Parenthood, everything it does.